Very good. You may proceed.
Please state your full name for the record.
It's Detective Trey McCullough.
How are you employed?
I am employed by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
Roughly a little over 10 and a half years.
Prior to joining Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, do you have any prior law enforcement experience?
I do.
What was that?
I was a deputy at Bradford County Sheriff's Office for a year and a half, and then from there I went to the Baker County Sheriff's Office for 3.5 years, and then from there I started my career at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
What currently is your position with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
I am currently assigned as a gang detective in the at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been a gang detective?
A little over 4.5 years.
How many detectives are in the gang unit?
There's 12.
What gang are you specifically assigned to cover?
6 block.
Prior to becoming a gang detective with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, as a patrol officer with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, did you have occasion to respond to incidences involving the gang war between ATK 1200 and 6 block?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how many incidents did you respond to before even joining the gang unit?
I couldn't give you an exact number. The area that I was assigned to ride and patrol was like in the heart of the 1200 out east area. So over the years, I couldn't give you an exact number, but there were numerous.
What were the years when you were in patrol at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office assigned to the heart of that area?
That would have been from 2016 to 2018, like 2019.
Is that as long as there has been disputes between those groups?
Are you asking me if that's when they started, or did they start prior to that?
No, during that time period when you were working.
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to that, has there been other groups that were kind of the predecessors of, let's start with 6 block?
Yes.
What groups were the predecessors of 6 block?
I think historically, if you go back, it was the 45th Street Gang, and from there it went to PCE.
Is that short for Problem Child Entertainment?
Yes, ma'am.
As well as, I'm going to ask about ATK. Was there a predecessor group or a group that ATK evolved from, or
Yes.
was a subset of?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that?
I believe it was called the Youngin Gang.
Youngin Gang. And when we talk about the Youngin Gang that preceded ATK, was there a specific individual that was known as a gang member, Youngin Gang, that continued into ATK?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was that?
His name was Kenyatta Bullard, and he goes by Youngin Ace.
Youngin Ace. Did you receive specialized training in order to become a detective in the gang unit?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
What type of training did you receive?
I've attended numerous conferences put on by the FGIA, which is the Florida Gang Investigators Association. I've attended numerous classes throughout my career at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office that's put on through HIDA, and other classes that we've kind of had like in-house with other previous gang detectives and whatnot.
As a detective in the gang unit, what are the daily duties and responsibilities?
Just to monitor whatever gang that you're assigned to, whether that's social media, following any updated trends, and trying to prevent any violent crime occurring throughout the city of Jacksonville.
And even though you're specifically assigned to 6 block, are you familiar with their rival gangs as well as other gangs in the Jacksonville area?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you and other detectives in your unit share information and assist one another with investigations?
We do, yes.
Now I'm going to ask you about the different types of gangs. You are familiar with the Florida Statute 874, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Familiar with the criteria for what it is to be considered a criminal gang, as well as the criteria established by statute for what constitutes a gang member as well as a gang associate. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there different types of gangs?
Yes, ma'am.
And how would you describe 6 block, the gang that you are assigned to?
It's a neighborhood gang, so there's a lot of similarities, with the national, gang. As far as 6 Block goes, it clearly meets the Florida State statute under 874 as a criminal gang, but they're more of like neighborhood, like hybrid gangs, whereas in your national gangs, you see like a hierarchy, a structure where it's, organized. What we have seen and what we've experienced in Duval County is, more of like the neighborhood hybrid stuff where there's no hierarchy, so forth.
And when you talk about national gangs, nationally recognized gangs, can you give us an example of that, what you're talking about?
Sure. So like your Bloods and your Crips are national gangs. And usually from my training and experience, there's some type of like hierarchy and structure. Whereas versus in the gangs that we deal with, or at least in Jacksonville, most of them, there's not a lot of structure or organization.
So in those nationally recognized gangs, there's actually a hierarchy where you have a leader who calls the shots and gives orders. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In these hybrid gangs, there is no such hierarchy.
No, ma'am.
And according to 874, the criminal gang definition, in order to be a criminal gang, it can have a formal or informal organization or association or group even. Is that correct?
That's correct.
As long as there are 3 or more members?
3 or more members.
And what is one of the primary activities of this group?
To either commit delinquent or, criminal acts, and they usually have like a common name or, color or, hand symbol.
Was 6 Block, was that documented by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office as a criminal gang?
Yes, ma'am.
When did that occur?
That occurred in August of 2019.
Was that before you joined the criminal gang unit at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that documented by others that had been in your unit before you were assigned to the gang unit?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it part of the gang unit to keep that documentation and maintain that documentation even when there is a successor detective that takes over that role?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you have reviewed all of that documentation when you took over the assignment, being assigned specifically to 6 Block?
Yes, ma'am.
When was specifically 6 Block documented by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office as a criminal gang?
In August of 2019.
And did that documentation, did that include naming 3 or more members at that time that were identifiable as criminal gang members in that group, identifiable group?
Yes, ma'am. I believe there was actually 4 members that were documented under whenever the criminal gang 6 Block was documented.
Was Charles Jones one of those original criminal gang documented members?
Yes, ma'am.
Was he also documented as a 6 Block gang member at the time?
He was.
Who were the other individuals that were documented alongside of him?
The other 3, including Charles Jones, was Keon White, Felix Poussey, and Derek Norris.
And was there documentation for that field incident report that outlined the different criminal activity which was the primary activity of this particular group?
There was.
And what sort of criminal activity was Charles Jones and other members of his group engaged in order to qualify as a criminal gang pursuant to Florida statute?
Some of the incidents that were, notated in that documentation, there were numerous violent crimes, numerous drug arrests involving firearms, where several individuals were sentenced to prison. They clearly showed like a style of dress and a, common hand sign that they would often flash, which, clearly under the Florida State statute would, qualify them, as a criminal gang in the state of Florida.
And going back to that definition or the criteria of criminal gang, what was the gang sign or hand sign for 6?
It was, would you like me to demonstrate? Or
Yes, sir.
It was just a 6 like this.
Was there another hand sign that was used and designated by other members of 6 Block?
There was a K that they was in reference to Kendra Austin, who died in 2016, and they would flash the K like this.
And is that common to gangs, hybrid gangs, when they are either utilizing style of dress or hand signs, that it can relate to a deceased member who has died in this gang war.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'm going to go to style of dress for 6 Block. Was there a style of dress adopted by this group, 6 Block, back when it was first documented?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what the style of dress was, or what was the evidence of that for 6 Block to designate that you were a member of that group?
Well, there have been several, but a few of them were Lawrence Davis. He went by Trady. He was murdered in June of 2018, I believe, and they often wore like T-shirts with his face on it. They had shirts with Kendra Austin, the one I previously mentioned. There were several other styles of dress. There were pendants they would wear, like chains with the, like similar to this, but it would be like a picture of the fallen member who had passed away.
And going back to the primary activity is the commission of criminal or delinquent acts. During this time when 6 Block is being documented as a criminal gang, is there a war and a dispute with another group of individuals when they are first documented?
Yes, ma'am.
And who would that war be?
Who would the war be against?
Yes, sir.
It would be ATK and 1200.
And is based on some of the documentation, again, for the primary activities of the commission of the criminal acts that this group is participating in, is there also been documentation, again, on social media, either through posts or through the posting of drill rap music to show that those criminal acts were for the primary purpose of benefiting the gang?
There has.
Can you give us a couple of examples of specifically this time period when 6 Block was first designated as a criminal gang in Jacksonville?
So anytime a rival gang member would be murdered, they would oftentimes post on social media with different, laughing emojis, or they would make a statement, referencing the victim of that violent crime, and they would oftentimes, post it on social media, whether it be, Instagram, Facebook, or, all the, social media platforms out there.
Your Honor, at this time we'd introduce into evidence States Exhibit 34 and 84C.
Okay, any objection? Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
No new objections, Your Honor.
Okay, any new objections? Mr. Sonardi?
No, Your Honor, my continuing objection.
Okay, Ms. Wise?
That's a small one.
Yes.
No objection.
Okay, Mr. Petrides?
No objection, but is it 84A or C?
C.
84C.
That was B that came in.
No objection.
Okay, admitted.
Detective McCullough, who is being depicted in States Exhibit 34?
That is Charles Jones.
And you said at the same time that 6 Block was documented by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office as an official criminal gang. Was Charles Jones, was he also documented as a criminal member of 6 Block?
That's correct. At the time 6 Block was documented as a criminal gang, he was one of the 4 individuals that was documented on that same documentation.
Did Charles Jones, did he have well-known nicknames at the time that he was referred to by others in the gang as well as the public?
Yes, he did.
What were those nicknames?
He went by Foolio, 6, little 6. His Instagram handle was Julio Foolio, but in Duval County, everybody referred to him as Foolio.
And are you familiar with the different 11 criteria set out by the legislature which can be a factor in determining whether or not somebody qualifies as a criminal gang member?
Yes, ma'am.
At the time when Charles Jones was first documented as a criminal gang member of 6 Block, what were the criteria that he met under this statute 87404?
I would have to refer back to his documentation because I'm not the one who documented him, but from what I can remember, I believe out of the 11, criteria, he had the tattoo, he flashed the hand sign, he associated with one or more criminal gang members. He was identified by a reliable, documented, confidential informant. But I don't quite know exactly what all of the 11 criteria that he met, but I do know the ones that I named were some of the ones that, he obviously met.
And under the statute, you just have to meet 2, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many have you just listed for us?
I don't, 6 or 7 maybe, I'm not sure.
And you're
4.
going by memory. Would looking at the paperwork, would that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you bring that with you
I
here today?
did.
Can you take a look at it and then let me know when your memory's refreshed?
So the criteria that Charles Jones met was he was identified by as a documented, reliable informant. He adopts the style of dress of the criminal gang. He would flash the hand sign. He had the tattoo, and he associates with one or more known criminal gang members.
And what kind of tattoo did Charles Jones have?
He had several. The most noticeable one was the big number 6 on his neck, as you could see in that photo. And then he had, I think it was Osama over his left eye right here, which was in reference to another fallen member.
Of 6 Block?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to show you states 84C, being assigned as the gang detective for 6 Block. Are you familiar with this particular chart?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this an exhaustive chart of members that have been documented by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office of members belonging to 6 Block?
These are, just a few.
And members and associates, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And can we start, obviously this is Charles Jones in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to ask you about Adrian Gaynor. What was his nickname?
It was Bibby. He also went by Osama, which is the tattoo that he had on his, above his left eye.
So he also had a recognizable tattoo that was distinctive to 6 Block members, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what was the nature of the relationship, if you know, between Adrian Gaynor and Charles Jones, between Bibby and Julio Foolio?
To my knowledge, they were just very close friends. I don't know if they were actually like blood related. Bibby was quite a bit younger than Charles Jones, and Bibby was murdered in the apartment complex where Charles Jones kind of, I guess, essentially formed. Like
Is that the Hilltop Apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the area known for 6 Block where they or where they come from and where they hang out. Is that correct?
Correct. It's 1646 West 45th Street.
And then in the upper right-hand corner, Xavier Edwards.
Yes, ma'am.
Is he a documented member or an associate?
He's
of
a
6 Block?
documented member.
Okay. And what was his nickname?
It's Omerta.
And he was one of the individuals down here in Tampa with the victim at the time the victim was killed. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'm going to ask you about Robert Howard. You familiar with Mr. Howard?
I am.
And is he a documented member of 6 Block?
He is.
And had he previously, before 6 Block was formed, was he associated with the predecessor of 6 Block, PCE?
He was.
Then I'm going to ask you about Jaquan Pickens. What is his nickname?
His nickname is Jake Jit.
And what is his membership or associated status in relationship to 6 Block?
He was a documented member of Bully Gang prior to him, passing away.
Now, I want to ask you about Bully Gang. We've heard a lot of testimony about 6 Block. Can you tell us about Bully Gang? Is that a documented gang in Jacksonville?
It's a documented subset of the criminal gang 6 Block.
So what does it mean to be a subset of a criminal gang?
It's essentially like a smaller group within the larger organization, which would be 6 Block. And a lot of times, not all the time, it consists of a few or more people, but they oftentimes reference the same hand signs, style that you dress, but it's, they might go by like a small little different name, or might be, in this case, like the guys who are under bully gang are like, 4 to 5 years younger than the, most of the guys that were documented under 6 Block.
And you've already talked about the predecessor group, PC, is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, when we're talking about PC, Problem Child Entertainment, were they an older group than Charles Jones and members of 6 Block?
That's correct.
But members of 6 Block friendly with PC, is that correct?
That's correct. It's just basically like the older version of 6 Block.
So what we have happening is younger generations, is that what is going on with these kind of new subsets that are popping up in these neighborhoods?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to ask you specifically about Don Julio. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a drink, correct?
Correct.
Was there some significance with Don Julio in relation to Charles Jones, Julio Foolio in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that a drink that was associated with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And after his death, did you start noticing that Don Julio bottle being utilized by his his ops, his rival gangs?
I did.
Was there a rap video that was posted and produced by Young and Ace, a high-profile member of ATK?
There was. I believe it was called Game Over.
And was that Don Julio bottle, was that highly featured in that rap video?
It was.
And were there other postings by members of oppositional groups seen celebrating drinking Don Julio?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you about, you said that you, as part of your daily activities, you monitor social media accounts. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you monitoring the social media accounts of members of 6 Block and other gangs in Jacksonville?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you monitoring the drill rap videos?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that you utilize in your work as a gang detective?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And is that something that is posted after either a homicide or an aggravated battery or shooting that occurs in this gang war?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a monetization from these high-profile drill rap artists such as Julio Foolio that they get money based on the number of social media clicks that they get?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but to my knowledge, I know the more views they get, then, the more, money it is. But as far as the details of that, I'm not exactly sure how that works.
And is it frequent that these drill rap videos are posted after a oppositional member is shot and killed?
That's correct.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
Yes.
Your Honor, we pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez, any questions?